All right, Dorian, put on the charm. So, Nadia, what? No.
That hippity hop smooth talk don't work with me.
Oh, my bad.
Alrighty. Welcome back, any and everybody. This is Linen Otter here to do another episode of One Last Night. We were just about to meet this new character, some woman of sorts. Alright, let's see here. Standing at the entrance was a tall but muscular woman, a bandana covering her muzzle. She was a German shepherd, as evidenced by her color scheme and other canine features. It was so surprising I had to take a drink of water. She wore an aqua blue sleeveless top, showing off a definition in her arms and the dragonfly tattoo that curled its way up her right bicep. Where? To match, she wore black jeans with a belt while a dangling gold and blue earring hung from each ear. I tripped over my own feet trying to keep myself stable as we approached her. What was she doing here? She laughed at my stumble and turned to the guards. See what I mean? Hardly a threat. She reached a hand to his cheek and patted him a few times. Now, how about you be a good boy and bind their arms as an apology for the hassle? As for the hassle you just put me through for a simple request. You wouldn't want Alistair to find out about how you disobeyed him now, would you? The bandit grumbled to himself as he bound our hands in front of us, handing the leads to our escort. Perfect. That'll be all, sweetheart. With that, she turned and led us out of the room towards our destination. Interesting. Whoa, this artwork seems updated. We walked in silence as we were led through the passage that had brought us here and back to another building, only to be led into another secret passage in that lower level. I wasn't sure where it led, but that wasn't the biggest thing on my mind right now. I continued to play quiet and follow until there was a time we could talk without the risk of being overheard. We were brought out of the tunnel into another storage building, confirming my earlier theory of there being more than just one building. She nodded to the other bandits as we passed, taking us up a floor to where more of the office-like rooms were located. There were a few others here. Most had taken off to watch her help out with Wonderland. The bandit leading us stopped, listening intently and glancing in both directions. Quickly and without warning, she ushered us into a room and closed the door with a loud sigh. Whoa. What the heck? Fucking hell. That was stressful. I'm impressed with myself that I managed to get this far. But this was an entire step up. Go on, you can applaud me. Xavier was looking at her utterly confused while all I could do was stare in shock. Oh, holy shit, it really is you. In the flesh. In the flesh, D. Bring it in. The German shepherd wrapped me in a tight hug. I tried to return it, but wasn't able due to the bindings. I let out a grunt of pain as she squeezed my untended injuries with all her strength. Quickly, the canine drew back. Right, sorry. Got carried away with the moment there. Let me take care of those. She started to remove our restraints, prompting Xavier to speak up. Dorian, why do you seem to know so many of these bandits? Is there something you're not telling me? This drew a laugh from her. I like this twink already. He and Oliver would get along well, I think. Aside from the questionable fashion choices, that is. You really know how to find them, D. Xavier muttered something under his breath. Why does everyone keep calling me a twink today? I watched as the gears in his head clicked into place with a start. Wait, are you from Haven? She beamed at him, lowering the bandana from her muzzle. Smart, too. He got it with next to no context. The name's Tia? Taya? I'll say Taya. It looks like it's short for like Teresa. Theresa or whatever. The name's Tia, Bat Boy. Taya extended a hand, gripping Xavier's hard as she gave it a firm shake. Xavier. A strong name. I like it. No wonder you did so well in your fight. The brutality at the end was a bit overkill, but admittedly, I'd do the same in your shoes. I stepped forward, bringing the shepherd's attention back to me and the fact that my timer hadn't been set up. Look, T, I'm ecstatic to see you here, probably more than you know, but I don't understand. Why are you here? How are you here? She stared at me, her face mirroring the confusion I'd been feeling since I first saw her here. You mean Raya didn't tell you? Tell me what? She rubbed her forehead, seeming to gather her thoughts. God damn it, Raya. You owe me for this. She took a deep breath. A few months ago, Raya approached me and asked for my help. They'd learned about the existence of this bandit group and heard whispers of what they were up to. They were concerned about what was going on, and after some discussion, they thought the best way to stay safe and learn more was to put a man on the inside. Or in this case, a woman. She's all muscular. Maybe I should be making her voice deeper. Or in this case, a woman. That's all I can think of when I think of muscular women. Duh. I can't do that many woman voices. I'm sorry. I'm practicing. She put on a satisfied smirk at that. Oh, right. She knew they could trust me to get the job done, and as such I figured, hey, what's one more burn scar anyway? And accepted the offer. She told me it was a secret mission, and that I couldn't tell anyone. So naturally, I told Olivier the second she left. He didn't want me to go, but knew that I was more than capable for the job. After a makeover to help me look the part, about 2 weeks later I left on my mission and infiltrated what we now know is called the Ignited. Kinda a tacky name if you ask me. I was reeling over this new info, questioning why Raya had hidden something so big from me. It also explained why I hadn't been able to say goodbye to her by the time I left Haven. She was already spying here for them. After I'd built up enough trust, I was able to get messages out by going on night patrols and leaving notes at a designated location. In exchange, they left some for me as well. Sorry I couldn't have been there when you left, by the way. You'll have to tell me all about what happened while you were away. But anyway, as more people were kidnapped, I learned just what Wonderland was and how close they were to running another one. I sent an emergency message to Haven and haven't heard back since. Then you two arrived. The pieces all began to fall into place. The messenger from Haven hadn't been sent with news of Marshall, but to warn me of the bandit group led by my ex. Haven was on lockdown because they couldn't risk more people being kidnapped, and we were kidnapped in order to start Wonderland. It hadn't all been a series of unfortunate coincidences. Taya continued. I was planning to leave at the end of this edition, with either that Wolverine hunk or my fellow trans hyena, but now that you two are here, I can take one of you instead. The two of us were silent for a moment before Xavier spoke what we were both thinking. Only one of us? She sighed. More than that poses a big risk. This wouldn't be the first case of an escape attempt. It'd mean I'd be locked up like the two of you if we fail and leave Haven down, not to brag or anything, but an important part of its leadership. She turned to look at me. Which is why I'd like to extend the opportunity to take you with me, Dorian. I blanched. Wait, what? With your help, there's no doubt we could organize an assault on this place. An assault? If we do enough damage to their inventory, rescue their prisoners, maybe fuck with some of the Lion Dickhead's personal supplies, it could cause an internal conflict. It might just be enough to get them to disband even. So, what do you say? I barely even thought about it before the word left my mouth. No. No? I shook my head, catching Xavier's surprised reaction in the corner of my eye. As much as I'd like to do that, Taya, I can't. My conscience wouldn't allow me to accept getting out while others are trapped here. The duo stared at me, likely confused as to why I wasn't taking the opportunity to escape. Isn't this what I had wanted? The chance to get out and continue searching for Marshall? Which is why you need to take Xavier instead. Whoa, hold on. Why me? I don't even know anybody from Haven. Your connections there would be much more influential, and you'd accomplish a lot more. Because I know what you've been through, and I know the last thing you want is to be trapped again. The bat shifted uncomfortably. Our whole kidnapping was never supposed to happen. You deserve the chance to be able to live a life not trapped in one place. You've had your share of burdens recently, Xavier. Allow me to give you this break, please. He was silent for a moment before wiping a tear and smiling at me. Aww. I just wanted to see that look there. Oh, thanks, Dorian. Aw, the bat then threw himself into a tight hug around me. Anytime, kid. I subtly grabbed his butt and gave it a firm squeeze. We stood there in our embrace for a short while until Taya cleared her throat, ending the moment. I couldn't help but feel a heat rise to my cheeks. Taya eyed me suspiciously before continuing. Well then, Xavier, looks like you'll be getting to see Olivier? Looks like you'll be getting to see Olivier sooner than I thought. God, how I miss his wit right now. I'm sure he misses you all the same. Did your lovely twin give you some acting tips before you left? Because you were quite convincing. Nope, that was all me, Dee. It's easy to blend in when nobody's willing to challenge you. Oh. She flexed. Guns of steel and a boisterous personality can take you a long way. Oh, can take you a long way, boys. Keep working towards it, and maybe someday you two can be like me. A sassy blacksmith. Damn right. I know that without this apocalypse, I would have been the next worldwide icon little girls dreamed about. I smiled mischievously. Or had nightmares about. She glared. Careful, Dorian. I can still bench press your ass up and over the side of a building. I raised my hands in defeat, causing her to smile. As much as I'd love to catch up more, we need to get you two to Nadia's office. If we waste any more time, they'll know something is up. Taya grabbed the rope and gestured to put our hands up so she could rebind them. Since I'm going to be taking the bat here with me, though, I'd appreciate it if you could get us some help, Dorian. What do you mean? Even though Wonderland will be over, and the bandits will be partying to celebrate, it would help if you could get distractions going. The less guards roaming the halls, the better. If you can manage a way to distract Alistair, too, that would be perfect. He's their boss for a reason, and that reason being he packs some serious firepower. I nodded, my curiosity piquing at what that lion had that could tame so many people. Taya turned her gaze to Xavier. Lastly, find a way to get yourself to the nurse's office for that final night. It's the easiest point of extraction for me to get the both of us out of here. You both get all that? Loud and clear. Excellent. She placed an ear to the door, listening for a few moments before pulling the bandana back over her muzzle. All right, you two. Back to being miserable. It's time to take action. With that, our spy flung the door open and brought us back out into the hallway and towards our destination. All right. You've gained an ally. A good TV show this would also make, but maybe even a good video game. It wasn't much farther of a walk from where Taya had taken us aside to be able to reach the nurse's office. It was an average-sized room, with proper beds spread out across it. I wasn't sure where they'd managed to find them, but I considered myself lucky they did. The room was empty, save for the person we were looking for, tucked into a desk at the back corner of the room. Oh, Nadia, I believe. Nadia, I believe Taya called her earlier, was an older cheetah woman, a pair of small glasses sitting at the bridge of her nose. She was thin, almost frail-looking, wearing a dark, thin woolen turtleneck tucked into a pair of plain tan slacks. She brought her eyes up to us as we approached. Took you long enough? Took you long enough? I thought it was clear patients were to be brought directly to me after their fights. I'm sorry, Nadia. I tried. No. That is No. That is Dr. Adebayo to you. I may not have received my doctorate, but I have more than earned it. Right. Apologies, Dr. Adebayo. As I was saying, the other bandits there weren't letting them leave, so I had to take it up with Alistair. She shook her head. Of course they did. Most of you seem to have nothing but half-baked ideas of how to make others suffer in those empty heads of yours. Nadia looked back down as Taya sighed, knowing she wasn't going to make any progress with the cheetah. The three of us stood there waiting awkwardly before her gaze returned to us. Well, what are you waiting for? Both of you take a seat. You are no longer needed here, girl. Dang, Taya's not gonna like being talked to like that. You could see it right there. I could see the anger burning in Taya's eyes, ready to spill over. I nudged her with my foot to get her back to composing herself. She glared at me before her expression softened. Taya untied our leads and walked to the exit, sparing one last glance at us and lowering the bandana to mouth 2 words. Good luck. Good luck. I nodded in understanding, and then she was gone. Xavier and I sat across from each other for a moment, unsure of what to do as the silence stretched on. I don't know, got any cards on you? After a moment, Nadia stood from behind her desk with a first aid kit in hand and moved towards us to begin whatever treatment she had planned. Now, which one of you will be first? Her eyes darted to me and then Xavier, stopping with recognition of the bat. I see you fought on the first day. Quite unfortunate. Well, I can't say my luck has been too great recently, so this was about par for the course. He started to laugh, but cringed in pain from his abdominal wound. Nadia's eyes lit up in concern as she finally noticed it. That decides it. We are treating you first. Remove the shirt so I may properly look at your wounds. But what about... He will be fine. He's injured too. He will be fine. Dressing an open wound like this is what matters most at the moment. Xavier looked like he wanted to say more, but she shushed him. Shush. Talking will only make him wait longer. Be silent. The bat looked at me helplessly, but all I could do was shrug. I'd wanted Xavier treated first anyway, so this was the best outcome. That comment she made earlier clearly had ground to stand on as she began her treatment. Her hands were quick and efficient. First, she'd taken a bucket with warm water that had been prepared from before we arrived and began gently dabbing at the area around the wound. Once the dried blood from both Xavier and the faded had been cleared, she grabbed a clean cloth and some strong-smelling disinfectant to gingerly apply to the wound. Xavier sucked in a sharp breath and grunted, the sting from the fluid causing him pain. Poor kid. Taking a roll of bandages, she tightly bound his abdomen in the gauze and tied it off, securing it in place with a bobby pin. Done. You were lucky the wound was not deep. Otherwise you would have needed stitches and months of bed rest. Do not overdo it or the wound will reopen. Are there any other injuries you sustained I should look at? Well, I had my shoulder dislocated, but a friend of ours popped it back in. Oh? She moved his shoulder, applying pressure to the area to check it. It is well done. I presume the Wolverine did this. Yep. That boy knows his stuff. I wanted to make him my assistant, but he would not budge in his own goals. The lion also denied the request. That's too bad. Do things tend to get busy around here? Not really. Only when this damnable tournament rolls around. Otherwise, it is these fools coming to me for minor aches and pains. I have treated children with stronger pain capacities. Nadia smiled to herself. Sometimes I like to tell them absurd things they must do in order to feel better, or send them on fetch quests. They never even question it due to my accent. Oh wow, I guess I was right to give her one. Haha. That is how I know they are all nothing but idiots. Xavier returned the smile and shot me a wink. He really did have a natural charm in dealing with people. Either way, I'm glad you're here to help people like us. How did you end up here anyway? Her face darkened and she shifted her attention to Xavier's hand. Raising it, she began to undo the bandaging in order to rebind it. I was tricked by someone I had known long ago. He wanted my help and I thought it would be for a good cause, but I was wrong. I'm nothing more than a prisoner like you now, just with a little more freedom. As she finished with Xavier's hand, she held onto it for a moment, gently rubbing the back of it with her thumb. You are a kind soul, young bat. Let it guide you and provide hope for those that can no longer feel it. Be the light for those in the dark. Xavier nodded, a sullen look on his face. I can try. She reached up and patted his cheek, a soft smile lingering with sadness in her eyes. And that shall be good enough. She drew her hands away from him and brought her attention properly to myself, that look of neutrality back on her face. Your turn. What injuries did you sustain? I was hit in my right thigh, left wrist, and on my back by these flesh-eating blob monstrosities, as well as slashed across the forehead by some claws on my right side. Then I was thrown violently against a wall backwards and bludgeoned in the back of the head by one of the guards. Why did they bludgeon you? Xavier chimed in. He wanted to fight in my place. She shook her head. I will treat you, but if you continue to have disregard for your own life, you will not receive the same aid. I understand. Good. Now remove your clothes so I can get started. Oh, whoops. I thought I did that. Ugh, kind of spooky. A few hours later, I laid back in one of the makeshift hospital beds and stared up at the ceiling. Like Xavier, I'd been lucky my wounds weren't deep and hadn't required stitching. The bleeding had stopped amongst all of them and would likely heal quickly. Unfortunately, my head hadn't been so lucky. The trauma from the bandit and wall impact had left me to nurse a minor concussion for the next week or so. A bandit had dropped by sometime after to send a report back to Alistair, and Nadia informed him that we would be spending the night here for further observation. He tried to object to that, but she quickly shut him down and sent him on his way. It was clear by now the first day of Wonderland had finished, but rather than feel any sort of relief on the fact, I felt nothing but anxious and sad. Nobody else had been brought to the office today, meaning Xavier and I were the only two survivors. Not only that, it left only 2 days for me to form and coordinate an escape plan for Taya and Xavier. It was all a lot to handle. I stared across the room to look at the bat, sleeping soundly in his cot. I'm sure he was glad to not have to sleep alone in a dark space again. Meanwhile, Nadia sat at her desk in the corner, reading a small book. I couldn't make out the title, but the cover was worn from reuse. I had a time limit to all this, and I couldn't waste any more. We'd be taken out of here come morning, and that left few chances to try and convince her to help us with our plan. It was now or never, but I should at least try to play things smoothly with her like Xavier had. Maybe she would also warm up to me. I'd heard rumors or talks that One Last Night had choices, but lately they haven't been there, especially since the update. I think this one's becoming more of a linear visual novel, which is totally fine. But I think I can definitely see where some of these choices might have been, especially with choosing between Xavier and myself to go with Taya. That would have been interesting. All right, Dorian, put on the charm. So, Nadia, what? No.
That hippity-hop smooth talk don't work with me.
Oh, my bad.
She didn't look up from her book. No. No. I see how it is. Oh, I see. I do not give you the right to address me by my first name. If you are going to talk to me, call me Dr. Adebayo. I cringed internally, chastising myself for slipping up already after remembering that from earlier. Right. Apologies, Dr. Adebayo. All I was going to ask was that book you were reading. No response. What's it called? She flipped the page. And why do you want to know? I'm sorry? What does it matter to you what book I am reading? This is nothing to be gained from such simple conversation. What about me makes you think I'm a woman who cares for vapid and empty pleasantries? Dang. I can kind of get behind that. I quieted, unsure what to say. I think it is clear to the both of us that there is something on your mind you want to talk about that you have deemed important enough to interrupt my reading. So? She paused, finishing the page she was on and sliding a bookmark in to look me in the eyes. Man, she's intimidating. Speak your piece, or hold it so I may go back to enjoying what limited freedom I have of my own. Well, no time like the present. We need your help with something. A plan that we only need you to play a small role in. It's simple, really. All you need... No. But I didn't even finish what I was saying. Yet my answer remains the same. Can I at least finish? No, because I already know what you're going to say. And what's that? An edge of frustration was creeping into my voice at her dismissive attitude to my pleas for help. Do not raise your voice to me, boy. You are as easy to read as my book. She dropped it onto the desk for emphasis with a thump, standing up and walking over to where I sat. You plan to try and escape this place, to take your friend and flee, but it will not work. You are not the first to try, and you certainly will not be the last to fail. We have someone on the inside, though. That band... Oh, why is he telling her this? Be careful. Oh my gosh. We have someone on the inside, though. The bandit who brought us here earlier. She's been spying for months and can help get at least one person out. She laughs. If she is your spy, then your chances are even lower. Nothing about that girl has been subtle since the day she arrived. She would also not be the first to turn her back on our captors. And what happened to the last one? I believe you have already met him. After all, he helped your friend there earlier. What? My mind flashed to the burn scar I'd seen on Treat's midriff earlier. So, he had been one of the bandits and was caught trying to escape, resulting in his imprisonment. But why had he joined in the first place? I couldn't make sense of it. Even still, Taya wouldn't be trying this if she didn't have a plan. At the end of Wonderland, the bandits will all be too busy celebrating to put up a proper guard. How do you know this? Because that's what she told me, and I trust her wholeheartedly. And how does she know this? I assume because she's been learning about them. She's able to guess what will happen. You are saying these words, but you do not hear the problems amongst them. I scoffed in annoyance. What problems? Guess and assume. Neither of these mean you truly know. You and her are doing nothing but making predictions that will only make things worse. If you want a chance to leave this place, you need certainties. I refuse to help with a plan based on nothing but luck. It's not luck. It is what? There is no stable foundation to your words. If you'd let me explain, there is nothing to explain that you have not already said. I have entertained your foolishness long enough. She turned her back to me and the patience I'd been holding on to broke. Just fucking listen. No! She whipped back around, leaning and pointing a finger in my face. You listen to my words and listen closely. Everything I've heard from you, from your actions today and what Xavier told me when he was here yesterday, have told me everything I need to know. You are careless and brash, leading way without giving anything proper thought or stopping to consider how to act. You chose to live in the moment with little thought of the future. Your urge to escape this place is one we all share, yet you still focus on yourself and how this can benefit you. You cannot go through with this, because this is yet again you're throwing your life to the wind. In a perfect world where we all make it out of here, what happens when you and the bat are out together and encounter danger? You will continue that recklessness, endanger him with yourself. If that time comes, he will throw himself in the way to protect you. That boy admires and cares for you more than you know. He is compassionate, considerate, caring, and a bright hope for the future we all want to see. But if he puts himself in harm's way like that, injuring himself for your actions and resulting in what could be his death, he is not the one to blame for caring too much. Your actions affect more than just yourself, and you seem to forget that. Should his light go out, the future will only grow dimmer. His blood will be on your hands, and your hands alone. Act smarter and do better, or we will all suffer. With that, she stood back up, looking down on me in distaste. Do you understand? Not able to find my voice, I simply nodded at her words. She took that for her answer and sat back at her desk, picking up where she left off in her book. She was right. Every word that had left her mouth had hit home, and I knew there was nothing I could do at that moment to change her mind. If we were going to survive this, if all of us were going to make it out alive, we'd have to exercise the utmost caution. I'd have to do better, and think harder than I had been. This wasn't some game where I could simply set a checkpoint to restart at. There were consequences to my actions that could not be undone, that I had to weigh properly. I looked back at the sleeping bat, my chest filled with worry over his future. If I could help him bring about that future Nadia had imagined, then that's what I had to do. Tomorrow would be a new day, a day of planning and preparations for what would hopefully be a successful escape. Rather than extinguish the flame from my desire to escape, Nadia's speech had fanned it further. I would give it my all to make guarantees. I would give it my all to make guarantees and account for possibilities of what could go wrong, to make sure that things weren't left to luck. If I couldn't make enough, then we would call it off until the next best opportunity. I laid back in bed, pulling up the covers and feeling the day's exhaustion begin to settle in. I needed the rest for what was to come. My future was in my hands, and I wasn't going to let it slip away. And we're potentially going to end it here. I'm actually going to record some more just to see if more happens, because I was told that this could actually be I was told that this could actually be close to the end, and I want to make sure I don't just record some and then record again and suddenly there's like nothing to do. There's only like 5 minutes left. So we're going to potentially leave it off here. Thank you guys for watching. I really hope you liked it. Gonna try and practice doing some of those voices. It was kind of fun doing her voice though. I'm reading into getting advice about things like mouth movements, lip placement to do better voices. Voice acting is something I really did want to take seriously, so this is a fun little practice, I guess. But anywho, thanks again for watching. I really hope you liked it. Feel free to like and subscribe. I really appreciate it because I'm really getting close to 1,000 subscribers, and it'd be awesome if I hit it. Only if you really like the videos, like I said. I'm going to try and diversify my content more. Hopefully I'll have some other videos uploaded by the time this is coming up. But in the meantime, hope you just have a good night, a good day, a good evening, whatever it is for you. And we'll see you next time. Take care for now. Bye now.